All right. Well, welcome. I'm going to give just a little bit of overview of what we're doing here at the Georgia Cyber Center, and we talked about this multi-sector approach to cyber awareness, to education, and the big idea here at the Cyber Center was really bringing together government, academia, and private industry, and we've successfully done that. So we have Department of Defense, Department of Energy, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation Cybercrime Center, Secret Service, FBI. We have both Augusta Technical College, Augusta University, and then 15 industry partners that are for-profit and 3 nonprofits that are all here in our buildings. And so we've accomplished that. In our mission statement, it's innovation, it's information sharing, it's providing services. But 2 of our critical tasks are really on providing affordable and relevant education and training, and on workforce development. And when we unpeeled this problem of workforce, we really looked to K-12 as being kind of the center of gravity. It's kind of a military term, but it's really where we need to focus on in order to solve the problem. And so when you look at the throughput that's going through our schools, I think 85% of the schools in Georgia have a cyber or computer science class. Last time I heard from Brian, there's a very small percentage of students that are taking those classes, and a very even less percentage that are passing the end of course assessment. And so it's kind of a challenge. And so what we're trying to do here, and we're working locally, but we want to extend across the entire state, is enable teachers. I think empower teachers is what was used on the panel. I think that's the perfect term. And it's not providing you with more curriculum, because there's so much free curriculum out there, it gets overwhelming. So what we're developing, for example, are teachers' guides that help you teach the curriculum. And then activities that we would host on our cyber range. So we have a cloud computing environment here that will soon be accessible to anybody in the state that we give access to. So those are some of the resources. We do provide training. So if you have training requirements, whether it's something as simple as Security Plus, or we are a Cisco Networking Academy, both support center and instructor training center. And we do have, if you're interested in that, again, that's curriculum that's already done for networking, cybersecurity, coding, Internet of Things. It's all there for you. It's no charge if you're an academy. And we actually have a grant that would pay your academy cost and pay to get an instructor trained to be able to use that curriculum. So if you're interested in that, drop me a line and I'll share more for that. And then it's helping guidance counselors. It's promoting these activities like Cyber Start America, Cyber Patriot. Augusta is the Cyber Patriot Center of Excellence for the country. We've won that 2 years in a row. So if you need more information on those type of programs, happy to share all those. So those are some of the things we're doing. I really wanted to get your feedback on what we need to do, because we're a state-funded entity, part of Augusta University, but our mission extends statewide. And so we've kind of done some things based on feedback we've gotten from teachers locally, but want to reach out to you and find out what you need. So if you can share in the chat there, what are some things that we can help you with? Not everybody at the same time. So how about any let's see. Okay, yep, I got it from the middle school level. Yeah, that's kind of our next task in the queue there. We're trying to map different activities to the state standards. For example, if you do CyberStart America, our good friends at GTRI actually went through and did that crosswalk to the state standards. We're doing that for the Cisco Networking Academy curriculum and some others. And then middle school is probably the next task. If you've done any work on that, if you wouldn't mind sharing that, we would certainly take that and add to it. Any other requirements or any questions that you have of me from a Cyber Center perspective or cybersecurity in general? So are any of these resources for, I'm sorry, what is ES level? Yeah, we don't have anything here for that. I know Brian Cox can probably provide more on what that is, but you bring up a very good point, because what we realized, and please provide feedback on whether this is accurate or not. What we, I think, didn't expect when we stood up about 3 years ago was a lot of young people were actually not interested in cybersecurity. And when we started asking them why, they said there's too much math, or it's too much coding, it's too hard. They didn't really have anything to truly relate to. And so what we did, we used to host a lot of middle and high school field trips here, and created an escape room activity that actually, at the end of this scenario, they ended up saving the Augusta region from a cyber attack on our electrical power grid. So they found by clues, they found a thumb drive taped under a desk, and they were able to decipher a kill code, and they stick it in and stop the countdown. But then we introduced them. Randy mentioned the NICE cybersecurity workforce framework. Coding is one work role, software development. There's 51 other work roles in there. And so you introduce them to those, from digital forensics to social engineering to different types of analytics, cryptography, you name it. And then show them the people that are actually doing the work. And so part of that escape room was I actually get to go up and meet a digital forensic investigator from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and get their evidence, their clue, but then talk about what they actually do in solving crime, solving cases for the state of Georgia. We let them talk to a military offensive cyber operator. We let them talk to one of our security operations center analysts that protects the AU and our health sciences network, or all of our industry partners doing these different types of work roles. And once they can see themselves in that work role or that job, the math and the coding doesn't seem so hard. I'm going to go to Stefan here. So recommendations for equipment that is useful. So that can get pretty expensive. I mean, you certainly need either desktops or laptops with a high-speed internet connection. Can do just about anything you need it to do. Most of the rest of it is software. If you have a high-speed internet connection, you can connect to our cyber range, which would give you more capabilities. So you wouldn't have to physically have that hardware on site. If you want a hardware stack, I can get back with you offline and provide some recommendations, but that can get very expensive, both in the initial purchase and in the sustainment and maintenance also has some heavy overhead. But if you're capable of doing that, more power to you, and we can help you with that. But just the ability to access the internet and having, a current laptop with the proper memory and speed, I think you can do pretty much anything you want to in the classroom. Let's see, Susan, what about real world simulations for middle school and elementary school students to reinforce the importance of cybersecurity? Again, those are things that we want to work on. There probably are some programs out there, and I'm just not up to date on that level as I should be. But one of the things that we're working on for our range is to kind of flood that with activities and simulations that would include this, so we can replicate real networks on our range, like build real environments with virtual machines that replicate, desktops, laptops, servers, firewalls, Active Directory, all that, which is probably a little bit much for middle and elementary school. But I've got that as a requirement, so thank you for that. And if anybody else has any things that you've tried and looks good, let us know, and we'll help promote that. And if we need to help find funding streams, we can help with that as well. Okay, any other questions or comments? Yeah, so let me put my email in here again, just so you have it. Yeah, so I love coming to these events just because although I can't see you, but I get to meet people and talk to people and understand what your needs are. We've done a lot of things, I say, from the federal government to the state, that we thought were good and ended up missing the mark on some of them. And so your feedback is critical. So if you have anything that you need or is a good idea that you think other people need, if you would please share those with us in the future, we'd be greatly appreciative. Okay, I think I got 3 of you left, so I'm kind of out of things to talk about unless you have questions or more comments. Hey, we got a new.
Yeah, sorry, I had to deal with an emergency that just kind of popped up out of nowhere. So I apologize for my tardiness. I'm just making it back. And then I was trying to, organize stuff on my mobile device, but it wasn't working. But thank you once again for joining us and moderating that last panel, which I thought was awesome. I'm anxious to learn more about cybersecurity myself. I come from a little programming background, but as many of the panelists stated, there's so many different things you can do in so many different areas in cybersecurity, and then definitely being a family man trying to protect your children, and your spouse from all of these different, let's say, negative things that could happen because of cybersecurity issues, or misinformation, or predators, or and the things alike. So, like, how did the Georgia cybersecurity come about? I'll ask that question.
Yeah, so our history it's interesting. So was really kind of an in-kind effort from the Department of Defense and particularly the U.S. Army, kind of going all in with cyber at Fort Gordon, which is about 12 miles away from here. And so on Fort Gordon, they've really transformed over the last 15 years from what was our signal school, teaching all the Army communicators and IT professionals, to now the Cyber Center of Excellence, which includes communication still, but also offensive and defensive cyber and electronic warfare. So all your institutional training, doctrine development, and capabilities development is now on Fort Gordon. But really the catalyst was the announcement of the move of Army Cyber Command, which is the 3-star operational command for Army Cyber from Fort Belvoir, Virginia to Fort Gordon. And then now you've got, I think, 6 operational brigades, so about 15 to 20,000 service members that are either signal, cyber, or intelligence. And then the National Security Agency, Georgia, is also in Fort Gordon. So that was kind of the catalyst that says, hey, we want to provide training and innovation support at the same time, protect the citizens of Georgia and our government institutions and of course our businesses within the state.
Okay, thank you. And for those that are still here, because it seems like there are several people that are still here, if you would like to come up on video and ask a question, you may do that. Or if you would like to just ask a question in the chat, you may do that as well.
Yeah, I think they're still here.
So I'm seeing a lot of thank yous for your expertise. Thank yous for your time. I don't know if you responded to this question. Susan Schrader said they're in Connecticut and was wondering if they have a similar organization there. If you're aware of a similar organization.
No, I was not, but that's fantastic.
Okay, I think you already dealt with that
There
one.
you go. Oh, do I know? I don't think so. Yeah, we're pretty unique in what we did. I mean, the state of Georgia really invested about $106 million in cash to develop the center here, which is still, 3.5 years later, the largest single investment in cybersecurity. And so all the things we do, we haven't seen anything that's exactly like us, but, for those that are doing K-12 outreach and assisting with education, there may be those type of organizations, but I'm just not aware of them.
So we have another question regarding the 3 trends that you anticipate coming up in the cybersecurity space in the next few years.
Yeah, it's going to get worse. And worse and worse. Is that 3? Yeah. So right now, the majority of our cyber attacks are still done through mostly email compromises and phishing, spear phishing. So those will continue. I think what we'll see in the future is more attempts to disrupt our critical infrastructure, whether that's electrical power, healthcare, it could be financial sector. Anything that some of these nation states can do, I think they will do. And if you look at the the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, when you look at what they did in cyber prior to their ground assault, they did cyber attacks against, in this order, it was kind of financial sector, energy sector, defense forces, and then their healthcare sector. You know, 3 of the 4 of those, we in the U.S. would not consider those legitimate military targets, but our adversaries don't think that way. And so cybercrime is going to continue, both as real criminal organizations as well as criminal organizations that are supported by nation states acting on their behalf, or at least being supported by them. So what are we going to do? We're going to have to do more collaboration. So I think this is where I think we're going to see a shift. So the threat is going to increase, but I think our capabilities to defend against that are also going to increase. So we talked about that culture change. We're starting to see that a little bit, the beginnings of it. But we have to better inform young people and let them know that this is not only a very lucrative career field, but it's imperative to national security, and they can be part of that. It's informing and helping protect our small businesses, our local governments, our state agencies, who are woefully unprotected. And that's really a coming together of government, academia, and private industry. So all those, you know, like the IBM program, I think you're going to see more of those. I think you're going to see more investment by state and federal government, because it's needed, because it's not fair for a school district or a local business, small business, to be able to defend against a nation state capability. And in many cases, that's the case. And in almost every case, these attacks are coming from overseas. So that makes it challenging. So I think on the one hand, it's going to get worse before it gets better, but I think we'll start to come together as a nation to help mitigate this a little bit better than we're doing now. That's a long answer. I think that was 2 trends, not 3. But yeah. And just for time, I think the other thing will be more technology and the use of artificial intelligence, machine learning, the ability to detect not only malware signatures, but anomalies on networks. I think we're seeing that right now. It's, in some cases, that's kind of expensive, but I think that'll be more commonplace. And from a technology perspective, the ability to defend against those attacks better. But the human is still the weakest link, so they'll come after us. I'm always a sucker for a Georgia Bulldog free T-shirt. Hey, let's click on that link.
Right. So, any other questions or comments?
Oh, a great question from Kathleen. So the consequences and unintended consequences of technology, that is always the case. You know, most people that have our values would create and innovate, you know, for good, but we can always use that against us. I mean, you can look at some of that technology that was created here in the U.S. that now China is using, for example, to essentially spy on their own people. So not only do they monitor any and all of their phone conversations, they also track them through facial recognition across their country. So in the last few years, they've installed about 2.5 billion cameras across the country. And so that's not for safety, that's to protect the regime and track people that speak out against the communist regime. So that's certainly an application of using that ill-intended. we'll have to be aware of that and figure out how to combat it. But nuclear energy was created for a positive thing, and it can also be used for evil. So that's just an unfortunate aspect of people. And then I saw another question on for a teacher that's just you're going to teach cybersecurity next year, where to start. That's a long question. I would say please contact us, and I'll sit you down with our training director and help kind of steer you on a path. It's really knowing where you are and what resources you have in order to steer you and augment what you need to be successful teaching that. So it's, a great place to start is Cisco Networking Academy would be the one thing I would highlight, but it's a little more complex than that.
And
who owns our data? Yeah, everybody owns our data, because whenever we get online and click on that acknowledgement that you can use our data, then everybody owns our data. And companies sell your data, by the way, if you didn't know that. Not only to other companies, but they sell that in some cases to government. So that's unfortunate. That's why I don't personally have any social media accounts, which people yell at me because you don't even have a LinkedIn? No. Let's see. Is it possible to get off the grid? Well, there's probably still a few places in the country you can get off the grid. Don't take your phone with you. Don't take your computer.
But they can still track you by satellite with the different technologies. Say heat recognition.
Yeah, they got to know what the heat is, though. So. Yeah, so I think you're bringing up, some significant policy issues and discussions that we need to have as a country. Again, there's always a balance, whether it's technology, using it for good or evil. There's a balance of data and who owns it. And we went through the 9/11 attack, and we became a little more liberal on the usage of personal data in order to find terrorists who also use Gmail and Yahoo.com and hide amongst us. And so that policy is going to have to shift back and forth. And what do we allow big tech to do and not to do? So I would, when you have the chance to bring up in forums, and I certainly do, we need to continue to have those discussions. Because again, there is no simple answer or one size fits all. And there's always advantages and disadvantages to some of these policy decisions that we make. Wow, the questions got really good all of a sudden. That's awesome.
Right. I was actually going to ask one as well. If, you all have had discussions about cybersecurity, and we heard some phrases earlier today, NFTs and blockchain and things like that, cryptocurrencies or anything.
Yeah, so that's another thing that's probably not going away is cryptocurrency. There are people that are trying to drive us to a global cryptocurrency. I'm not going to vote for those people. It's interesting. I'll tell one story. So, from a law enforcement perspective, if you are local, cybercrime is the only crime where the victim and the perpetrator are in two different locations, which makes it challenging to arrest people, particularly when the perpetrator is overseas. And so how do you impact that? How do you de-incentivize cybercrime? Because right now, if I'm making a lot of money and I'm not getting in trouble, why would I stop it? And then it's just going to attract more people. So a technique is to go after the money. And so in order for cryptocurrency to be used, you got to cash it out eventually, like through a bank. And so if you know where those transactions are coming, within the US, there are individuals called like money mules that will go and open an account or pay someone to use their account to then take that money and cash it out and put it in another account. So it's almost like money laundering. But those people you can find and arrest. So if any of y'all are doing that, you better stop it because you're going to get caught. But that's a way to make an impact. And so I think that, and that relationship is not, I mean, that is a multi-agency, state, federal, local effort that's starting to make an impact. And until we brought all those entities together, it was almost like, we couldn't do anything. And why would you have a law enforcement entity that can't prosecute anybody? Why are we investing in that? But now we're starting to make an impact. And so we're getting clever on how we try to go after these nefarious miscreants, as we call them. So, yeah, great question. That's a little out of my lane. I know there is research that is going on related to this. I'm just not as familiar with it. Most of that is in like colleges of education at the university level. Yeah, so I can ask that question amongst my University System of Georgia colleagues and see what they know about that. Or if anybody else is aware of that, then please type it in the chat there. Man, these are really tough questions. Oh, I got you. Hey, can you unmic her from your end, Sababu? Miss Mons?
Okay, so yeah, I was actually writing in the chat to tell her to go ahead and click on share audio and video, which should be a blue button, and then we can pull you up to the I call it the video stage, but the video window, if you want to do that. I don't see her. Okay, there we go. There's a delay reaction, but should pop up any moment now.
I saw her, then she disappeared again.
Okay, that's a little bit too long. Try it again, please. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, you can disable your video and just enable your audio, but you still have to click on share video and audio. You still have to click on the share button. Okay, let me refresh my screen and see if it's on my end. I did click on plus, so okay. Try to.
Are you getting a waiting for approval on your end?
Okay, so she said the question was, does oh, okay. Oh, that's another person.
Yeah, see you, Miss Brantley.
Right. Do you have a question, Cynthia Brantley? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the question was, does such K-12 cyber data end upon your desk? Um, since we all recognize the interconnection of such data. Okay, now we popping up. All right, so I'm gonna be quiet. Go ahead. My stubborn sister.
Kathleen, can you speak? We see your picture. Yeah, we still can't hear you. Let me try to answer your question. Does that type of data end up on my desk? No, not unless we ask for it. And then it would have to be, publicly releasable. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to send me an email later, we can probably just set up a Teams meeting or a phone call, and it sounds like you've got some great thoughts and ideas that I would love to talk to you about.
Okay, yeah, we have about 5 more minutes before the session ends. And just to let you all know, we still have another panel session that begins at 2:25. I'm dealing with data science and artificial intelligence, and breakout sessions following. So it's always a pleasure. Okay. If there aren't, okay, got you. If there aren't any further questions, we do thank you once again for attending, and appreciate Mr. Toller for sharing his time and expertise as well. Thank you for the interactions and the questions and the comments, and the facilitations in the chat. As well. And thank you to my team. If anyone is still in here for my team for covering for me, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you for what you do. I'm really sincere about that.
Yeah, I'll just hang out for the next 4 minutes just in case. But make sure you stick around. I think we're going to have another raffle, right? At least one more. Oh, and don't forget, if you need like a certificate of attendance, I believe Mr. Hassan has been posting it in the chat as well as the event chat. So you can fill that form out. And let me see if I can find it and just repost it real quick as well. So, okay, that was the evaluation form.
All right, I'm going to sign out. I got to run to another meeting, but really appreciate the opportunity and the great questions and dialogue.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yep, you too. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Peace. Take care.